All right, I am joined with Mr. Mukwevho. Welcome.
Mosandi azidwa ndivitsina langa. I don't know. Uyana Mr. Mukwevho azidwa ndivitsina langa. Yeah.
Wait,
Since 2014, Mosa.
but I've always called him Mukwevho.
Exactly.
But I think maybe that's coming from we always called him Mukwevho.
Yeah. So when I arrived in Western Cape, everyone called me Mukwevho. So it's been like that since then.
At work, do they call you Mukwevho?
So at my current workplace, they call me Nkhodeni. Then my previous workplace, they used to call me Mukwevho because even they used to call them now Mukwevho, and then now people what's your first name?
Does it make it tricky now when you say Nkhodeni Mukwevho and then they ask you, are you related to McG?
Not really. Sure. I think the people in my previous workplace, they used to watch podcasts and chill McG a lot.
Sure.
So they used to ask, are you related? I've never met him. I don't even know him. So
I don't even know if you even related.
Yeah. So a friend of mine knows him personally.
Sure.
Apparently, I don't know. Maybe I'm speculating. So they know each other.
I mean, Mukwevho, it's also a well-known surname in Nevada.
Yeah.
And that's like Muraudzi.
Yes.
Those are like big
like one people. Like
exactly.
It's like one of the big surnames.
Surnames, exactly.
Sometimes you will be associating with many things, either MMK or like Mubango. Like
also, who's this? Colbert Mukwevho.
Mukwevho.
So there's so much. I don't want to call it pressure, but there's so much people that are well known that it's easy for someone to just say, are you related
to this person?
Speaking of being related, I don't know if I should talk about this, but it's fine. Let's just leave it. I want to talk about, but let's leave it. Let's leave it.
What do you want to talk about?
Now, I want to talk about, I know we talked about it just before we recorded that you look like someone, an actor.
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't want to bring it up, but since you pushed me to go there, the name of the actor?
Forrest Whitaker.
Okay, so for those who want to check it out, just check it out. And but I think you're used to it as well.
I'm used to it by now.
Sure.
I think the first person who told me that that I look like him was my high school teacher. This was back in, I think, 2012. So she was a new teacher in my high school. Then she said, "You look like someone." I like, who? You're like an actor? Nope. I don't think I look like anyone. And then she said, Forrest Whitaker. Then I Googled the name.
Sure.
That time we were still using those old Nokias. So I tried to Google. And then like, okay. But I never saw myself as him or like the same reflection.
Yeah.
And then in varsity, then everyone started saying, you look like Forrest Whitaker. And then the more people say it, I was like, perhaps I look like this guy. Then I started digging more about him, and then
so I gave in as well.
But I still don't think that I don't think like I look like him.
I think it's usually when someone tells you that you look like someone, you can't see it most of the time. But take it from us, we see it. Anyways, I think just moving that aside, Nkhodeni is a fellow friend of mate of ours from CPUT, so it almost feels like a catch up as well.
Yeah, definitely a catch up.
So yeah, I think for people who just want to know what you're doing, please introduce yourself and what you do.
Where do I start? So let me say, let's talk about educational background. So I hold a bachelor degree of technology in mechanical. Most people will be expecting that I will be in the medical, not medical field, but mechanical field, like pure mechanical, probably in the design, maintenance, HVAC systems, or aviation. But I'm in a weird field, medical industry.
Sure.
So most people they'll see biomedical, but I never did any biomedical engineering. I don't have any biomedical engineering background. It's just pure mechanical.
Sure.
So in terms of career-wise, as I said, I'm in the medical field. I'm currently working in the class 3 medical, I'll say medical product. Previously, I've worked in the class 1 where we do implantable medical devices. We used to we're designing a aortic valve for a valve replacement. This is more on heart valve issues.
Sure.
Even the deployment device. That's what I was doing for 5 years. Then I decided that I need a change of career. Then I went to the class 3 medical device where now we do theater PECs, C-section PECs, angiography PECs, ophthalmic PECs. There are different types of PECs that we do, but mainly to enhance or to improve the quality of the theater procedures, to make them better and also cost effective. So that's what we do. We produce those products and we deliver them to the theaters or to various hospitals or clients. So yeah, that's what I do.
It sounds like it's a really exciting stuff.
It's not. Trust me. It's so maybe I've just given a higher scope of what I do.
Sure.
So if I have to break it on a day-to-day basis, I look after production. I lead production. So it means that I need to lead the people, and the people has the different aspect. And in terms of your resources, either equipment, raw material, I'll say even people that fall under your research because it's men. So it's quite challenging in a production environment because you will always meet a different problem on a day-to-day basis.
Sure.
It's not like you have same old problem. It will always be a different problem that you have to face, and especially in the medical field. You can get recalls of your product. You need to see how you prevent that. There are certain product that they can have contamination. You see how you can mitigate that before it happens. And you have design working instruction or SOPs that needs to be adhered to. And it's difficult to convince people to adhere to that. So that's the most biggest thing, because each and every single thing that you manufacture, it needs to be according to the working instruction and no deviation, because if there's a deviation, it means that you are not adhering to your working instruction. And if anything happen on that product, there will be a lot of replications. You cannot even, it becomes a lot of issue. So now having to enforce that in a production environment, it becomes difficult, especially when you're dealing with people from different background, different culture. It becomes difficult.
Sure. It's maybe I'm using the word a lot, exciting, but it's just interesting and makes sense why mechanical and industrial engineering are in the same department, because I think an industrial engineer does
systems
work similar to what you're doing. But before we get so much in depth, I think we'll actually come back. Is your love for mechanical engineering? Why did you choose mechanical engineering?
I think it was just a passion, a vision, a dream that I've always had. I think I fell in love with mechanical at a very young age, and I've always wanted to be a mechanical engineer. So let me take it back to, this was 2007-8. My brother was in high school. It was before my high school. He used to have a drawing board.
Okay.
So he used to come back with a drawing board, drawing mechanical.
You went to a technical school, right?
It wasn't really a technical school, but we had technical drawings as a subject.
Sure.
So my brother used to come back with those drawing board with a machine design or something, 3D designs, 2-point perspective designs. So I used to feel fascinated about that. So I remember I asked him different streams in mechanical. He said this design, this maintenance, this something that he mentioned. So I sort of like I fell in love with mechanical from that age. Then I decided from that I wanted to be a mechanical engineer, nothing else. Then when I started high school, I decided like, no, I want to focus on I just want to be a mechanical engineer.
Sure.
I remember my older brother advised me, why don't you become a medical doctor, because medical doctors make enough money? I said to him, nope, my dream is to become a mechanical engineer, because that's what I fell in love with. And from the day that I decided that until I obtained my qualification in mechanical, that's what I've always dreamt of. I remember when I wasn't a smart person. I managed to get a pass, or a bachelor pass in my grade 12. So I tried different universities. One thing that I knew, it was that I don't want to go to traditional universities because I'm not the material for a traditional university. Okay. I'm referring to UCT, Stellenbosch, UP, UJ, VETS. Sure. So I never bothered applying for that. So I applied for CPUT, to all the University of Technology, DUT. Sure. No, I think it was I did TUT. I never liked Durban. I did TUT, AVAL, and CPUT. There were 3.
And the one in Free State.
This CUT. One, yeah, CUT. Yeah,
I think
this one,
CUT,
yeah.
Sure.
So then 2014, with CPUT, I was accepted for industrial engineering.
Sure. Okay.
Then VAL, with mechanical, they wanted me to do like a prep, like an extended program.
Sure.
And my brother was, at that time, finishing up at VAL, and he also explained that going through the extended program is going to be a lot of work, and you shouldn't. Then they offered me something called non-destructive testing.
Okay.
NDT. Most people, they refer to it NDT.
Okay.
But my heart was always, I always wanted to become a mechanical engineer.
Sure.
Then CPUT, when they said, okay, industrial, I said, okay, industrial and mechanical, they are close to each other. Perhaps I can switch. Then when I arrived at CPUT, I met this guy, Modao, Sydney.
Okay, sure.
So Sydney said, I didn't know him before. I only met him when I arrived this site through a mutual friend. So I said to him that, bro, and I wanted to do mechanical engineering, but I was accepted for industrial. So I'm thinking that maybe perhaps second semester will switch. And then he said, okay, cool, we need to do the registration. Then we went to the mechanical department. It's mechanical and industrial department.
Sure.
While we were in the office, I'm not gonna call names because now, if I call names, it will look like we did some illegal stuff.
Sure.
So there was this other guy. He was a senior lecturer, and Sydney knew that guy. So he said to me, he was a senior mechanical lecturer at that time. So Sydney was like, what did you want to study again? I was like, mechanical. I was like, okay, wait, let me touch out to this guy. And he said to him, like, no, if my brother here wanted to do mechanical, he was accepted for industrial. But his goal is to be a mechanical engineer. So that guy said, can I have his results? Then he showed him the results, and he took out a application form. Well, I filled this application form for mechanical. Then he approved it and stamped it. Nice. And he said, go to the admin and then go register for mechanical.
Sure.
Then I registered for mechanical. Then started doing mechanical.
And that's how your dream came true.
That's where my dream came through.
Sure.
But even that, there were a lot of challenges that I faced until I obtained my bachelor degrees. There were a lot of challenges. It wasn't like a clear path or an easy path. I failed a couple of modules. I have one module in particular that I failed 3 times.
Okay.
Which is mechanics 1.
So this is like first year
The first year module.
Sure.
The thing with mechanics, every other mechanical student will tell you that mechanics is the difficult module.
Sure.
And it's just physics. It's just your normal physics. But they will tell you that mechanics 1 is very difficult. And you all have that mindset that mechanics 1 is difficult. I remember for mechanics 1, I had the first test. I failed mechanics 1. And my lecturer was a vendor guy called Mbabok. You know him probably. He is actually the CEO of is it Cubic 8? He's now into taxi industry, tried to implement a tech world in the taxi industry. Probably know him.
Okay.
So he was my lecturer. So I failed his first test, second test. This other test, a friend of mine got 0. I was busy laughing at him, and he called my name, and I also got 0. It was it was a nightmare.
Sure.
The highest in class was 9%. It was this other guy called Comfort. Wonder where you see. He got 9% at that time.
Sure.
So this guy, when he handed over my script, he said to me, "Hey, Nikorishonisanga Manda, bavendar badero to work on, but you very terrible. You're disappointing us."
Loosely translated.
Yeah. So
you're disappointing us.
You're disappointing us.
Sure.
I felt that one.
Yeah.
Honestly, I felt that one.
Sure.
Then I failed mechanics 1 that semester. I failed mechanics 1. I failed even under module. There were 6 modules. I passed 4. Then second semester, I had to repeat mechanics 1. I had a couple of other modules. Then I failed mechanics 1 again. And that time, I failed 2 modules even the second semester because one was 40, mechanics was 48%. The module was 47%. I can't remember what the module, but I remember the marks. So then I realized that there's something wrong that I'm doing.
What's happening in your mind at that time? Because, like you said, it's a dream. And it looks like there's just this one monster.
That
module that's showing you flames.
So the only positive side is that there were people who were saying that you can make it. Sydney, I still remember you said, I don't understand why you're failing mechanics 1. Well, I have done mechanics 1 and I know mechanics 1. I was a tutor for mechanics 1.
Sure.
KG, do you remember KG? KG.
Yes.
He was one of the people who said that he used to call me because I don't know why you're failing. Like we have done this module. Why can't you come knock in my room to say that I need help?
Sure.
One thing that I realized is that if you try to work on your own, then you're not gonna make it. Try to reach out to other people for help or guidance. That's one thing. That's one thing that I have changed. Then also change the mindset that this is not difficult. But for me to get there, it was a challenge.
You had to pay some school fees.
You have to pay some school fees.
Literal, I guess.
I remember also we had one of the braais. I wonder if you attended. We had a braai in the lake. The couple of actually it was a vendor braai.
Sure.
One of my friends who said to me like, "No man, you're still repeating one module for 3 times." But it was just
it was banter.
You know, we pull each other, right?
Sure.
It's part we play and we pull each other. But that one hit me very hard.
Sure.
But I didn't take it personal because I'm just one person who hardly takes things personal. Like, but this guy is serious.
Yeah. Sure.
Then that's when I was like, no ways. I'm not gonna do this module again. And now we had first years, and first years were like, "Yo, you see that guy? And that guy is repeating one module for the 3rd time now.
He's a legend.
Yeah, he's a legend. You know, he knows the entire book. He's a legend." Oh, like no, I can't.
Sure.
I can't. That's why I decided to focus, like really focus. I during the course of the day, you will never see me carrying a book. I used to go to class, come back to my room, do whatever I want to do, but late night I used to study like crazy.
Sure.
That's when I realized I need to push. And from that time, I think from 2015 until I was done with my national diploma, I think I only failed 1 module after that. And then now I started pushing, and I was like, pushing very hard. was pushing very hard until I get done with my national diploma, then came back for my BTech. I went for my in-service training. So I got an opportunity at my ex-employer, ACT.
I think maybe before we get to that is the academic validation and that switching of your mind. How did it benefit you, and what did you sort of learn from yourself from that?
I realized if you want to get something, you just need to figure out a way how to get it. If it means that you need to cross a river or you need to climb a mountain, if it has to be like that, you have to do it.
Sure.
Most as I told you that I wasn't a smart person. If I take it back before high school, let me go to my primary level.
Okay.
I wasn't smart. I think, how old are you when you do your grade 6 or grade 5? I think you're probably 13, 14.
13, yeah, sure.
At that age, I couldn't read or write.
Okay.
And people used to laugh at me. I think that's how I learned to build myself, to realize if you change your mindset, you can actually achieve greater things. At that age where you come back from school, you want to play, and then when you go to your playing field, everyone is laughing at you that you just go into a private school, but you can't read or write. You can speak fancy English. I'm not a very good English speaker, by the way, but so you can speak fancy English than the rest of us, but you can't even read what you're speaking. So it was terrible in such a way that I closed everything and I learned to look at myself and work on myself.
Sure.
I accepted the challenge that I had, and I found a way how to mitigate that or how to go above that. I remember. Say you just made me go back in
time. Yeah, sure.
Terrible times. Probably people watching this podcast will now look at like, that guy is stupid. Eh? But
they just don't know that you're a mechanical engineer, qualified by
the. So sure. I remember we had friends. I had friends. And then a friend of mine who we used to go to a private school. He used to attend a different private school. We attended a different private school. But from the people that we grew up together, were the two people attending private schools.
Sure.
But both of us, we couldn't read or write. So we had older friends, and they used to tease us. So sometimes they will pair us, like you guys will be against people who are going to public schools, and will be given certain things to read or certain words to write, and you write on the floor. And we couldn't, and that hit me hard. I remember this other day he gave me like an Ultramel
box.
Bottle or
sure.
box. What's that thing?
Yeah.
It was Ultramel milk. He gave me that. It was like, can you read this? I failed to read that Ultramel milk, and everyone was laughing. They gave it to a guy who was like 5 years younger than me. Yeah, I think 5 years old, like probably 3. Let me say between 3 and 5. They gave it to that guy. That guy read that bottle, but they laughed at me.
Hectic.
Like hard. Then I told myself, like, I'm not gonna go out to play. I'm not gonna go out to play. But I got used to it. Then I started working on myself from that age. So when I felt mechanics, for me, it was like, I think I will be able to do this because I know where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I just need to change my mindset. I just need to find myself, find my strength. I used to study like crazy. If you give me something, by the look of it, I can't. I'm not a nerd who can solve something for you as quick as possible. I need to master that. I need to understand the principle behind certain things, and the more I do it, the better I become. That's one thing I realized. So that's how I used to push. CPUT, I used to start. As I said, I used to start late night. Between my study time was between 10 until 3 a.m.
Sure.
10 until 3 a.m. Most people will say that each and every single time, I think it's Modi will tell that each and every single time when she's come from the IT center, she will hear of Dagada playing. But at that time, I'm studying. I'm studying, and that's
I
how
think it was sort of our culture, just studying and listening to music.
listen to music. Sure. Yeah, I'm listening to gospel mostly.
Sure.
Then I made it through. And when I graduated, that's when I realized, oh, this is possible. Then I went to do my BTech in 2018.
Sure.
Then I finished that. Then I took a gap year for quite some time until 2021. I decided, I need to go back to school. So
you're doing your master's now?
I'm doing my master's.
Nice.
So the weirdest thing, I'm back to industrial engineering. Try to run away. But at the end, I'm back in industry. So I'm doing my master's in engineering management. It's under industrial systems.
Sure.
So that's what I'm currently doing at the moment.
Your story that you just narrated now is it's encouraging. The fact that you had so many
encounters,
exactly, and look at you now. You are doing your master's, and it's sort of I'm sure it's not to do it for the naysayers, but it's just a more validation, academic validation that you started by struggling, but from there onwards, when you found your fit, you actually sort of pushed hard and harder. And like you said, you only just missed one subject after that. And like you said, it's like the change of mindset.
You change of mindset, and then you push. You just find. I always say to people, just find your best time.
Sure.
Where you give, like where your efficiency is at high level.
Sure.
Then use that. Use that. If you realize that you are able to study during the course of the day, use that.
Sure.
Study hard. Nothing is difficult. I'm quite certain if I had an opportunity to do an actuarial science, I would have achieved actuarial. I would have become an actuarial scientist.
Sure.
Just that I didn't have that capability and passion for it at that time. But if I had, probably I would have achieved it, because I'm one person who believes that if I want to achieve something, I'll get it.
Sure.
My friend, he actually even today says like, chancer, chancer, but chancer, and that's how I am.
Sure.
I take my chances. And I do it.
And I think maybe just the last point before we move on to the next one is the schooling system is sort of rigid. And it only allows maybe certain people who understand things faster to sort of thrive. And there's also other people who might take time to understand concepts. And it's sort of you need to know yourself in order to apply yourself properly. And I think maybe this is like sort of an advice for students who's doing mechanical, who's doing whatever subjects that. Look, there's going to be subjects or there's going to be modules that are going to be showing you flames, but it's up to you to sort of apply yourself and see what are the best options that you have. Like you said, you when you started studying with other people and also applying yourself, you started seeing it more clearly as compared to before. So this is sort of an advice to someone who's listening or a student who's listening that please apply yourself. Find out how does the whole system works. And I think most of the time, because I think my challenge was I didn't understand how the system works. Because if you don't know that there's like a chem mark that you have to sort of qualify for,
yes.
You might play thinking that it's high school and you're playing the whole semester, and the next thing they tell you that you don't qualify to write an exam.
So one thing that I realized, it's in varsity, it's all about working smart.
Sure.
So that's also a principle that I got to understand. You will meet different people.
Sure.
Who had good grades, and you will be competing with them, because the moment that you get in, if you're doing the same course,
sure.
Just forget about your grade 12. Actually, just throw it away, because it's no longer valid at that time. But from there, that's where the race began. Or the race start.
Sure.
You need to learn to work. I learned to work smart. It took me a year to learn that, but I learned to work smart. And since then, as you said, understand the system. Like in mechanical, you used to work for 60% during the course of the year in some of the modules, and then 40% at the end of the year or end of the semester, or 50% during the course of the semester, 50% at the end of the semester.
Sure.
So I used to excel in those midterms.
Sure.
Try to at least score a higher mark. Then I know when I go to my finals, I have
instead of pass before you actually write.
you have a good pass. What do you call this? A semester mark. And then at the end of the year, you're not gonna struggle. You will get a pass. If it's gonna be difficult, you will end up getting a pass.
Sure.
I remember doing my BTech. There was a module called refrigeration and air conditioning.
Sure.
It was difficult. And people before that, Boni or Karabo Ramoshu was one of the people who told me, like, no, don't do rec. It's difficult. Because they've experienced how challenging it was.
Sure.
So I decided to build my semester mark to be higher. Then final, yes, it was bad. It was tough, but I still managed to get a pass.
Yeah. I think those are like gems for the students who are listening, and you get to actually practice your in-service training and what you're doing now. The expectation from what you had when you were young and when you're doing it, was it sort of fulfilled? I don't want to ask if you're happy at your work, but were you fulfilled when you started doing your work as a mechanical engineer?
So in work-wise, I was happy because growing up, I've always thought like mechanical engineers, it will be like your engines,
like typical
like maintenance.
Sure,
like it's a typical mechanical engineer person who will be thinking about that. Then when you get to understand mechanical, then you think about steam plant and every other thing. But you will never, it's a rare that you will think of medical field.
Sure.
Then when I was exposed to medical fields, it was a fascinating thing. Like, wow, I never thought of mechanical engineers in medical industry. So I used to find it quite good. But surely, if, when you stay in one place for over a period of time, you get used to the system.
Sure.
And some other people like myself, the morality start going down, especially with the dynamics that you may face in the industry. At first, I used to love medical industry. I used to love my job. And even now, let me say, I still love medical industry. But if you look at South Africa, where we are, how we have advanced in the medical sector, we're still way back.
Sure.
There are no much companies that deals with implantable medical devices in South Africa. There are just a few companies. But if you look in the European side, there are a lot of companies. A big company who's been in the market for over 20 years. And there are people who are investing or still wanting to invest in medical industry compared to South Africa. So there's a limit to that.
Sure.
That's the only challenge that I can say. But in terms of the job itself, I still like it. But if I had to change, I wouldn't mind to switch off.
Just like pivot. Yeah. Try something else. You earlier on in the beginning, you started talking about what you do, the medical profession, and you started talking about class 1 and class 3, right? Please, let's just get again into sort of more details if we can, or unless you've actually sort of exhausted it earlier on.
I don't think so.
So I think let's just get into sort of explaining what you do on a day-to-day, and that importance of trying new things and how it helps you, and sort of what is sort of the future for you as well. What is like future goals as well?
So on a day-to-day basis, I actually am a production manager.
Okay.
So on a day-to-day basis, it's more on managing production, the entire production, meaning that you need to manage people. There's people aspect, and there's production where you need to manage the processes, planning for maintenance, procurement of raw material, making sure that you have enough for your product, making sure that the orders which are received from clients are planned and delivered timelessly. That's a typical job of a production manager. Also dealing with leadership, HR aspect, also guiding people, training, looking at the gaps that you may be facing in your production facility, whether you need to upskill people, whether you need to hire more people, look at your equipments, if you have sufficient equipments, if you have bottlenecks in production, how can you improve production? How can you reduce wastage? That's the most biggest thing. How can you reduce your production time? Because production is driven by time.
Sure.
So if you can manage to actually cut a certain process, or improve on that, and you save time, it means that the direct impact is that you want to save on money. It's more profit on what you're doing. So that's what I look at on a day-to-day basis when I get to work. That's my area of focus. I think I tried to summarize it.
No, you actually did. I think maybe as we're sort of rounding off, right, is the argument of AI. And I know you guys, since you're in production, and like you said, there's I know there's an engineer that once came here, Bonnie. He usually says that the work is not difficult, the people are difficult. Speaking of AI and how it can help you guys as production managers to do your work more efficiently and reduce the managing of people, because I think that's probably the hardest part of what you guys do. What's your take on AI, and how soon would you be willing to welcome AI on your side?
Once I've already welcomed it, it's a very powerful tool.
Okay.
If you look at artificial intelligence, it's a very powerful tool, and the sooner the better if people start implementing that.
Sure.
Or taking a high note of it. If you look at, we're currently in developing countries, we're currently in the fourth wave of the industry. Actually, we're actually mid of the fourth wave of the industrial revolution.
Sure.
So that's where most of the things are changing into robotics, cloud-based, and we're trying to advance to the fifth industrial revolution. That's where now there's like the implementation of ChatGPT and all the other AI tools.
The AGI sort of, yeah.
Exactly. So for me, I take that as a strong tool to use. There's a lot of information that it can help you together, different ways to solve different challenges that you may face. It may not help you to a specific problem, maybe a man problem, but there are different things that you can use it for. Like, let's talk about ChatGPT. You can ask ChatGPT you can write a report, and you can ask ChatGPT to write it better for you. It can do it for you.
Sure.
You can do a stat. You can ask ChatGPT to analyze that stat for you.
Sure.
So it can help you to do that. You can use ChatGPT if you have a certain process.
Sure.
You can design your process through ChatGPT.
Sure.
Ask ChatGPT, how can you improve on this process? It will give you ways to do that. I haven't tried it, but surely it will give you ways to do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a high chance that we start realizing that we're moving more into the tech world, the AI world, and we just need to embrace it.
In your industry, what is it that you need? What skills that you need to have in order to be a very good mechanical engineer?
Understanding of principles. I think an understanding. Let me say. For you to become a better engineer, you need to understand problems and how to solve those problems, and what mechanical principles you need to apply for you to solve those problems.
Sure.
As a mechanical engineer, you need to think about risk and safety. So before you make any decision as a mechanical engineer, consider the safety aspect of it. So if you're designing something, you need to think if it's not gonna cause harm to the people or to the environment.
Sure.
So that's the orientation that I will say if you want to become the best mechanical engineer.
In closing, what has been the theme in your career, and what has been a recurring theme in your career, and how has it helped you in your career?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
What has been a recurring theme, like when you look at your career and school, and you say, okay, I think I've always been excellent in doing things, and explaining how has it helped you in
my career?
Yes.
I think I've always willing to go an extra mile. That's one thing, and that's one thing that has helped me to excel. And I've always like what I try to do, especially in my work career. Before I even pitch anything, I consider the typical questions that I may be asked, and I prepare answers for those questions. It's like when I want to pitch that I need a certain equipment, and that equipment will cost me R1 million. So I will do my cost benefit analysis, show when it's the break-even point, when we're gonna start making it's an investment, but there need to be a return on investment. So if you invest R1 million, at what point will we have made R1 million, and from where we're gonna start making profit from there.
Okay.
And then I ask myself typical questions that the management or the directors may ask me.
Sure.
Perhaps maintenance cost, operation cost. So those are the things that I try to ask myself before I go pitch something. So I feel like try to consider all elements that may happen. That's what I use. And it has always helped me. Try to think about the next person. What typical question will you be asked? And if you can mitigate that, then you will excel.
Nice.
Then you will excel. I think that's how I have managed to do it and to get to where I am today.
Sure. Nkhodeni,
Yes, sir.
thank you so much for coming through, sir. It was really nice, and Stega Podcast is rooting for you, and not just Stega Podcast, it's the workforce. So we call our listeners the workforce, because we're the ones who are actually the workforce of the economy, and we're rooting for you, and we're saying all the best to you.
Thanks, Musa. Thanks, I really appreciate, and it was good having. Actually, you were having me, not I was having you. It was good joining you. I hope I tried to summarize.
I think you did an excellent job, and I think what you did is you made it easy for someone who wants to study mechanical engineering to understand what mechanical engineering is, because typically everyone, when they see mechanical, because there's a person back home who's called a mechanic, you think you're gonna be working on cars, but it's far from that. You're gonna be working with people, you're gonna be managing products, and you're the one who designs those products. So each and every bolt in everything that you use, whether it be a laptop, a mechanical engineer was involved in that. Thank you so much for bringing that light, and I'm sure this conversation will be valuable for those people who will be listening to it.
It's my pleasure, Musa.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I appreciate you taking time and tuning in and be part of our community. We get to share ideas, stories, and perspectives through this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it and found something valuable in it. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your family and friends. I look forward to connecting with you in the next episode. Until then, take care. This is Stega Podcast signing out. See you next time.